Hello and welcome to the third Kobe Bryant episode of the Hoop Theory Podcast, aka episode 81, which of course is in honor of his career-high 81-point night against the Raptors in 2006. My name is Logan Wortman, recording this one on the evening of Tuesday, April 23rd, and as usual, I am joined by my unpeeled co-host, Jacob Roth. Jacob, how does it feel to be on the third Kobe Bryant episode?
Was he 8 and 24?
Yep, 8, 24, and 81. So he's the first one to 3.
We'll probably have to retire him for episode titles for a while.
Yeah, probably.
Like, maybe 181.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can, dig deep and find another 8 and another 24 that are kind of episode-worthy.
Yeah, for sure. I think Jordan has 2. I think
that one, respectfully, makes sense, but Kobe Bryant having the most episodes is a little wild. Like, that's a little nuts.
I don't know. I honestly was not... I don't hate the idea of making him the logo, like, when that was being circulated. Like, I just feel like he's an icon, you know, like...
And I think the non-on-the-court exclusive stuff he also does a lot of. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That, like, if you take into account his body of basketball work, even though it was shorter, unfortunately... Like, he still has a lot of,
post-career.
The WNBA and, the number of guys that, said they had Kobe's, Devin Booker's, or Tatum, kind of, sort of, but there's those guys that, reached out to Kobe as their pro they talked to.
Yeah, a lot of people idolized him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he was yeah, that's a good point.
Way above what his actual, all-time rank is.
I just feel like it's criminal that Charles Barkley doesn't have 1 episode and Kobe has 3.
I mean,
at this point in time.
That's true. But it's tough when you wear jersey number 34. It's kind of...
That's true. You get put down the list pretty far.
Yeah.
Maybe we could get, his career high of rebounds if it's, not a big number.
In the 100s? 100 and then...
Yeah, the one and then whatever is career high. Yeah, that could be maybe somewhere we use it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, speaking of Charles Barkley, shout out to just him during this playoffs. He's been on an absolute bender. He said Joel Embiid's knee looks pregnant. Kenny the Jet Smith said that I see a lot of, in Zion's game, I see a lot of your game, Charles. He goes, yeah, we're both black.
Yeah.
Just Charles Barkley, just everything that he is just wild at times.
For sure.
I thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah. No, shout out to Charles Barkley, keeping everybody entertained in this postseason.
Thoroughly entertained.
Yeah. Did you like my adjective that I gave you for this episode?
Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, I just the other day unpeeled. Yeah, peelable might be one later. I guess I just have
maybe.
I sat down the other day and just typed out the next 25, 30 episode adjectives. Just right off the dome. It's a pretty fun exercise. But yeah, I guess getting into some actual playoff basketball that has happened now that we are kind of in the thick of things now. Every series has played at least 1 game. There's a few sitting at 2 games played, 3 to be exact. And there's some games going on as we speak as well. But as far as the games that have already completed, there's 3 series that have gotten to 2 games played. And all 3 of those, interesting enough, are at 2-0 now. So nobody has tied it up.
Home teams are undefeated thus far.
Yeah.
As of when we are recording right now, there is yet to be a home team that has lost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is
the association.
That is pretty weird. But yeah, so I guess starting off with, in my opinion, is the most fun 2-game series so far. But that's a very biased opinion because it's the team I'm rooting for, and that is the Denver Nuggets versus the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm sure it's probably not the most fun. I feel like probably Knicks, Sixers would be a lot of other people's picks, maybe.
Yeah, but I think they're I don't know. I think this is one of the moments of we need to remember LeBron. We need to cherish LeBron. As much as he irritates people,
yeah,
we're witnessing something kind of terrifying. like what he's doing. And I know that he can only do it for a half. And I'll let you like give your Nuggets all the flowers because they deserve them.
Yeah.
But what LeBron and then AD are doing, but specifically LeBron though, is it's just insane. Like
what? The efficiency,
an almost perfect, efficient first half. Like a first half that you're like, there's no way you can lose this game now in game one, and they still lose by 11, even though AD also has a great game. And then in game 2, he's doing everything. Not necessarily just on the offensive side, but defensively, being just a menace. And they still lose.
AD or LeBron on that one?
LeBron.
Oh, okay. In the first half, AD was insane in the first half of game 2. Like, he was like 14 of 15 or something like that.
Oh, no, the one that was really gross was D'Angelo Russell. Just
6
got
threes.
The engine rolling.
Yeah, in the first half.
Well, 6 for 6. He opened with 6 threes, didn't he?
Yep, and then he made his 7th one in the second half, started the second half.
Yeah, no, it was filthy. And, but yeah, I'll let you take it away because it's been as equally insane performances from the Nuggets, specifically Jokic. All the Nuggets looked kind of doo-doo in game 2, outside of Jokic and Jamal Murray for 90 seconds.
And Porter, the whole game was pretty remarkable. But because he had like a D'Lo type of shooting night, which he's more prone to do.
Oh, you're right. But I was just thinking of like the Jokic pass instead of the Porter shot, which isn't fair to Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, especially because some of those the other night were like 30-foot hand right in his face. Like Michael Porter Jr. more than any other shooter outside of maybe KD, which is wild to say that like KD is the only person who's above you in a certain category, is like he just does not ever look contested on a 3-point shot. Just because of how tall he is and how high his release point is. He always has the ball like above his head, basically. It's like anybody could be just standing there with a hand as high up as they want, and it's just like all he sees is the rim. So that's fun. And that was really good, especially because in the playoffs last year, MPJ wasn't fantastic, especially as the playoffs went along. Like in the conference finals and the finals, MPJ was pretty cold like that whole time. Mm-hmm. But it's fun.
Because he like just locked in defensively, and that was like the flowers that we gave him was like he has done what Coach Malone has asked him to, and has just accepted his role of like you'll get some shots, but play defense good, and he really did. Anyway,
and that last playoff run it worked because Jamal was on a heater like the whole playoffs. This playoff so far in the very short sample, obviously 2 games. Jamal has not played very well. He's shot 9 of 24 both games. And then Porter, I think, had a decent game 1. I don't really remember it, honestly, how well he did. But game 2 is obviously a standout. Jokic, just being playoff Jokic. He's
back. No drop off. Quietly, you're like, he has a 30-point, 20-rebound triple-double.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Did he finish with that? Did he finish with 30?
I thought so.
He might have. Yeah, at one point he was at 27 points. I do want to check that really quick. My brain also might
have just rounded up.
No, yeah, I was really hoping that he would get to 30 because that would be his 4th time getting a 30, 20, 10
27,
game.
20, and 10.
It was 27? Okay. But still, that is his 5th 20, 2010 game, I believe. Either 4th or 5th. And then he is the only person with more than one 20-20-10 playoff game, and he has 4 of them. And 3 of those are 30-20-10 games, which is just nuts. We're witnessing something. I just feel like I saw that Ryan Russillo and Bill Simmons gave a take that they feel like Jokic, for some odd reason, just does not get as much credit for being one of the very best playoff performers we've ever seen. But
how insane it is.
Yeah. And people just kind of talk about him like, oh yeah, he's really good, but you know.
No, honestly, for the first time ever, Reggie Miller finally was like, this guy's, well, he still calls him a young man, which is weird to think because he kind of is. Not really, but like in
29.
basketball world, kind of. But he was like, he's one of the all-time greats. And I'm like, what? Reggie Miller having a proper basketball take? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Just kidding, he's not that bad. Also, speaking of Reggie Miller, Kevin Harlan, this is from the announcing side. Kevin Harlan had a beautiful call to end that game. Just an all-time. Kevin Harlan lands the plane better than anybody on planet Earth. Why was Reggie Miller talking at all?
During the shot?
Turn his mic off. Yes.
Like post-shot? I guess I don't even remember what was said. But
Once the ball crosses half court, done. No more comments. And, like, Reggie Miller talked all the way up until, like, Jamal got the ball on AD. Like, it was like that.
Oh, yeah, because he says something like, we're going to overtime or something like that.
He said, worst case, you're going to overtime.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And I get you got to finish your sentence, but, like, Harlan was robbed the opportunity to build the momentum like you should, or should be able to.
Yeah.
The second that ball crosses half court, in that moment, shut up. Stop talking. Let the play-by-play guy that is an all-timer at that specific part of it.
Yeah.
Because that clip goes on forever in the halls of fame.
You don't think it will?
It still will, but it'll always irritate me that Reggie Miller talks as long as he does.
Yeah, that's fair. I just from the perspective of somebody who doesn't think or notice as much about the ins and outs of that, I thought it was I made the note of like, oh, that's like a really great clip, like because of the call and all of that. I felt like that was gonna last a long time. It's gonna be shown basically.
It still will be.
Yeah, it's gonna be probably Jamal's, unless something even crazier happens, might be his best play of his career. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, like unless there's like a bigger moment, like a Kyrie Game 6 type of shot for Jamal, that moment will be huge. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so like the game last night, Jokic was just, in the first quarter, I think he had a double-double. I'm pretty sure he ended with 12 and 10 at the end of the first quarter. And so then, like going through the game, the Nuggets only scored 44 points in the first half. We were down by 20 at that point. And I'm like, no joke, what I was feeling when I was watching that game. And, it hit halftime and it was 64-44. In my mind, I was like, man, I feel like I'm supposed to, like, how I'm supposed to feel right now is like, oh, shoot, we're going to get tied up. We're going to lose, type of thing. And then I was like, but for some reason, I just feel like we're still going to win this game. Like, that's the way that I feel like I've been blessed with being a Nuggets fan the past 2 years now, of like every single game, no matter what. It's like, I feel like we always have a shot still. And then in the third quarter, it wasn't looking like we were really laying the hammer down for a while. Like we were kind of inching back, but then at the end of the third is when we really went on a run. And then in the fourth quarter, especially, like that last like sequence of like 5-6 minutes or whatever it was, where Jokic was just like scoring every single possession, and we were just like somehow outscoring the Lakers, who were also playing really well in the clutch. It would have helped if AD would have been like the way he had been the whole rest of the game in the clutch, which he kind of like disappeared a little bit in the last several minutes of the game. I think that was really the main key for the Lakers. But the thing is, like, it's so encouraging for me and also so discouraging for all Lakers fans. Like, you could really tell that AD in the post game and like all of them were just very mad. Destroyed. Yeah. Like they felt like their spirits were crushed, I
would not be shocked if they get blown out in games 3 and 4.
Yeah, because they just gave up.
The only reason they might not is they have the big break and it's LeBron.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we will get a half from LeBron from, like, that's kind of nuts. That's a good playoff game stat line, not just a playoff half stat line. Because he kind of did it last year, too, in the one game they beat the Nuggets in their Western Conference Finals series. It was an insane LeBron half.
We swept them.
You're right. What game am I thinking? Maybe it was, LeBron had an insane half, and it looked like they were going to win one of them. Was it game 4? Okay, so maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and that's kind of that just goes to support what I'm saying here is like the Lakers can have such a dominant, like it's a performance that's like any team doing that wins that game, But then the reason why they don't is just because Jokic on the other side is just that, because that was the game 4 where he had that Sombor shuffle, like it's basically the Sombor shuffle of his career.
Yeah.
The one where he
Anthony Davis one.
Yeah, over Anthony Davis with like a minute left in a That was just like the dagger. We were up by, I think we were tied actually, and that was to go up 3 or something like that.
It was still very much a game at this point.
That was a huge play. It was just like the fact that it was done in that sort of fashion, and and then just Jokic just seems to have this weird ability to like now when it's in the clutch, he's just going to post up somebody, or they'll do the Jokic Murray 2-man game, and he's the god of floaters. I don't want anybody to ever mention anyone else's name in terms of like the best at like the floater range, just like teardrop shot of all time. It's Jokic. Like
I'm gonna give it to Steph because he starts from lower to the ground.
But he's not even. It's not even close to as well as like. Okay, I mean, but that's like calling Spud Webb the best dunker of all time.
That's true.
I'm
tracking.
In my opinion, because Jokic is just like automatic, and it's so like such an efficient play. Whenever he catches it in that range, and if there's any sort of space that like the big is giving him, he's just like, it's automatic. So like that is just a great thing to have closing out games, and it's just completely destroying the Lakers' spirit, especially when you add in Jamal hitting on the last like 2 or 3 possessions. I know there was 2 shots, but I don't know if it was the last 2 possessions or if it was 2 of the last 3 where he hit like the mid-range fadeaway. One of them obviously was the game winner. And then AD kind of got trapped on the bench there with everybody swarming. Jamal.
Shout out to KCP though, because KCP didn't join in on the pile. Oh. He like got in front of AD so AD could get up.
Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't even notice that part. I saw one of the Nuggets training staff coaches like kind of when AD fell onto the seat, he kind of like covered him up with his arm and was like, "You good?" And AD kind of just like sat there and watched the pile for a while, which is just funny seeing him in the post game, like how angry he was, like how he must have felt sitting there watching that ensue as well. But yeah, a great game from AD, LeBron, D'Lo, basically just the Lakers as a whole, but still somehow ended up losing that one. So that's got to be tough. But it's makes me feel like the Nuggets are gonna get another sweep on the Lakers, and I don't know if there could have been a more satisfying like rivalry that we just like dominate, than this one. It being LeBron and the Lakers. Oh, and okay, so the other thing I really wanted to bring up about this series is this year, Jokic and the Nuggets are getting their respect and their like just due, I feel like, from the national media. I don't know if you've noticed this with like the commercial on TNT before this game, leading up to this game last night. It's just like a promo video of like Luka and LeBron and a bunch of like good players talking about Jokic. It's like a montage of people like talking about how good Jokic is and then showing a bunch of Jokic plays. And there's not a single thing about the Lakers in there. And then it was like Nuggets, Lakers up next on TNT. And it was like, wow. I if you would have told me that was going to be a promo or like a commercial like leading into a game between the Nuggets and Lakers, I would have been like, there's no way. That's just awesome that finally we're at that point where it's like they're highlighting the star player, and the star player is not LeBron. It's Nikola Jokic. It's pretty wild. And then the Despicable Me stuff. Did you see that? I just felt like we needed to talk about this.
Me and my one of my coworkers were talking about this. I feel like Jokic is a guy that's insanely good at basketball, but just likes being a dad and likes horses.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Because like the only reason that he like is a Despicable Me guy has to be his daughter, right?
I would think so.
He doesn't just watch that movie for fun.
I don't know. He's really into Pokemon, and like he's into things like that for sure. So,
but my favorite is he gets asked about it. He goes, "I love that guy."
Yeah, so I love the guy. I really love the cartoon. Man. Yeah, it's just also I just love the planning of that. Like that was just an all-time marketing or like ad job that they did, because like he shows up to the game wearing the scarf, looking like Gru, which has been for those who don't know, has been like a meme for years now.
That he kind of looks like, if Gru was not a disgusting, not proportionate thing, and actually could look like a real human. No, because Gru's nose is literally like 3 foot long.
Obviously,
if you put him in a real body. But like Jokic has the same big shoulders into a smaller waist.
Yeah. Whenever he wears a suit, people have made those memes. Mm-hmm. Which
he's a human, like a possible Groot. Gru, not Groot. Jeez Louise. Yeah.
Yeah, so then
going to play basketball or going to steal the moon.
Yeah, the comments are great. I love the people calling the Lakers his minions and all that. But so he shows up to the game wearing that scarf, which me right off the bat was like, that's weird. Like usually he dresses up in a suit and like people will make the memes, but he's wearing like the exact scarf that he wore in a movie. I was like, that has to be intentional, right? So I thought that was weird. And then I was watching the game, and during the game, I believe this is the first time that commercial aired. It was the first time I ever saw it.
It's a Despicable Me, like, not announcement trailer, but it's like almost that.
Oh, okay. It's Despicable Me 4 trailer, and it's just Jokic talking to a therapist about the memes making fun of him for looking like Gru. And she was like, so that bothers you? And he's like, no. But, they won't leave me alone. And he goes and like opens up the window and there's a bunch of minions, at the window. And it's just like, it's the
delivery was perfect from Jokic.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how many tries it took him, but it was so good.
Yeah. And just the idea of like, they knew that they were going to have him dress up and do that at the game. And there was going to be all these memes about it. They just predicted that. Which obviously it's a pretty easy bet, but that's just insane.
No, I bet he got paid. I don't think that was...
What?
Yeah, he got paid to wear that scarf.
Yeah,
that wasn't just... Okay, I thought you were thought that it was just a big coincidence. I'm tracking now. Okay.
No, I'm saying it was a great plan. It was a great plan. Like they...
Yes, okay.
I've never seen something like that before. I don't know if... I'm sure that something like that has probably happened where a company plans out an athlete doing something or something that's going to become like viral. Mm-hmm. And then that night of like literally the thing that they did, like that same night that happened, they have a trailer or a commercial air referencing it.
Yeah. Now I know what you're saying.
Like that was like, it felt very surreal watching. I was like, what is going on? They just predicted that. Also just Jokic being a part of something like that when he doesn't do many commercials like ever. This year was like the first time he had all those.
Is he in the Denver area or not?
Not really. He doesn't do a lot.
I just didn't know if you're watching like Denver local TV, if there's more Jokic commercials.
He does a lot more Serbian commercials than he does like American. But I think the Denver media, honestly, it's kind of like the San Antonio media were back when in the Tim Duncan and Popovich days, where like they kind of learned to just stay away from them, leave it, like give them their space because they didn't like the media attention. The Denver media is pretty like that with Jokic. Like they didn't ask him a single MVP question this entire season until like the very end of the season. But one person asked him a MVP question. So yeah, it's just like Jokic not doing a lot of commercials and doing something like that just felt like very, wow, that's kind of crazy. So we're at a different level. Like Jokic is becoming like a household name now, I feel like.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of cool to see. But that can do it for the Nuggets Lakers. We spent more than enough time there. And then I guess we can touch on just the series that have gone 2-0 or gone to 2 games.
That works.
The Knicks and Sixers, both those games have been very tight, very close. The second one was
this is actually one thing that I have a uncharacteristic Jacob take, but I'm very passionate about it.
Okay.
Joel Embiid is a goddamn warrior. He's fighting through what has to be an immense amount of pain.
Yeah, for sure.
So, for everyone says that he ducks people and all these things, he's not ducking what is going on right now. I think to the detriment of the longevity of his NBA career, he is playing in this playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that should, even if they lose, but something in my gut feels like he's going to do it somehow. Like, when he was like, it was a Batman villain, head down in his locker, we're going to win this series.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think you're going to somehow. I don't know why I believe this, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, I just wanted to throw that out there because that's very not on brand for me.
Yeah.
But I feel like what is being on brand for me is appreciating it when somebody's being a dog and fighting out there. And that is, it looks like he's in very much physical pain. This is not like it's a little sore. Like, at the end of games, I'm not sure he walks. I think they wait for the cameras to leave, and he, like, sits in a wheelchair to get out of the arena. Like, yeah. Gosh dang warrior out there, Joel Embiid. So shout out to you. And it's playoff basketball. And when there's a loose ball in playoff basketball, fighting for positioning is not a foul. Sorry, I get it. Tyrese Maxey didn't have the basketball at the end of that game. He didn't have possession yet.
Yeah.
The only thing they messed up is Nick Nurse for sure called a timeout.
Yeah.
With Maxey on the ground.
Yeah, so, most of the like when Nick Nurse started calling the timeout, they didn't have the ball, but there was a moment when they did have the ball. Tyrese had the ball on the ground, and Nick Nurse was calling a timeout.
And I feel like at that moment, even no matter how you called it when it was going, in that moment, you go look.
As the ref, you look up?
Yes, at that moment, you go look as the ref.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So.
And Embiid he exaggerated that kind of criminally in his when he had his head down. He was like, yes, everybody on the floor was calling. I was calling timeout. Rocco was calling timeout. Like, but if you watch the replay, literally no one is other than Nick Nurse. But
in time,
yeah,
there's other people after. It's very clearly, just like DiVincenzo's taking the three. They're like timeout.
Yeah,
But
which shout out to DiVincenzo also for.
Oh man, that shot went in, and I texted you immediately. These Knicks Navy jerseys got me feeling some type of way, and I don't know if it's the orange on his head and the orange on the jersey. I don't know what. Everything about it just felt like nice.
Yeah,
this is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm also loving Isaiah Hartenstein becoming like the starting and closing center for them. Well, I don't know if he's been starting both games or not, but
he's just been playing.
He's the one closing out the games at the center spot.
He gave them like 9 more opportunities that they should not have had to win that basketball game.
Yeah,
like going up in the muck against Embiid, however injured, went up, fought for the rebound, got it, and then got a nice pass to get it out. It was a very unsung hero move by Hartenstein there at the end and got things done. So
for sure.
Anyway, do you have any other thoughts? I just wanted to get that Joel Embiid is very clearly not okay. So I still favor the Knicks. Obviously, they're up 2-0. But they say that it don't mean a thing until the road team wins one. That's when the playoff series really starts.
Yeah, until the road team wins. Yeah, or home team loses. Yeah. But I guess the one thing I will touch on is Jalen Brunson has been not very good in terms of his shooting in the last 2 games. But
yes,
despite that, the Knicks have won. So maybe if we see a more efficient night from Jalen Brunson, that could be really big for the Knicks in closing this out. But with how close both these games have been, I don't think Philly fans should feel any sort of like way that they can't very easily tie it up 2-2 right now. You know.
Yes.
Go back to Philly.
Shout out also to one of the most fun coaching chess matches that we are going to probably watch all year is this series. Because it's not like after game 1 they do these big adjustments. It's like constant just moving chess pieces around of Nick Nurse and Tibbs, just doing little things and changing little things and moving, and I'm just a fan of it.
Mm-hmm. Which you don't see a lot from Tibbs usually. He's usually sticks to a lot of... he does switch up rotations and things like that sometimes, but
personnel is the biggest thing you've seen from Tibbs, which is kind of the only thing he does, other than like one guy has to play all game and then everyone else can kind of like do whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I loved how he made the joke about because Josh Hart tweeted something about how he was mad that Thibodeau didn't make it in there as a finalist for Coach of the Year, and they asked Tibbs about it, and he was like. He just probably wants more minutes. Yeah, and he said that in a game or after a game that he played 42 minutes in or something like that. which is just funny. Classic
Because nobody
Tibbs.
wants more than 42 minutes. Nobody.
Yeah, nobody.
Yeah.
His answer to everything is more minutes. But yeah, and then over in the Cleveland-Orlando series, which is the last series that is at 2-0, Orlando has just been, they can't do anything on offense.
Which they haven't been able to all year. I just didn't think that they would get worse when the playoffs showed up.
I mean, the
I thought their bad shooting was immune to, playoff always brings down people's efficiency. Unless you're a freak named Nikola Jokic. Everyone else's efficiency gets worse.
Yeah.
I didn't think that the Magic would get that much worse.
Yeah. I mean, it does make some sense because the Cavs are one of the top defenses in the league. So it makes sense that this would be a very rock fight type of series. But I thought for sure Orlando would just be able to match up with the Cavs super well. And the other way around, I didn't think that the Cavs had a lot to really put on Paolo Banchero, but they really have, honestly. Been rotating between Evan Mobley and George Niang was the big one the other night. That was guarding Paolo, which I just would not have expected,
And then Donovan Mitchell not letting the Magic guards do what we thought they would and just kind of get physical and bully him out of comfortableness because he had 30 game one. And I'm not sure what he had game two, but he was also a big part of their offense game two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Jonathan Isaac hasn't been as much of a factor as I thought he would be defensively. He's still been good, obviously. I mean, that's his calling card. But Jalen Suggs in game two was talk about somebody fighting through injury. He had a terrible hyperextension and then just came back for the second half and was fighting through it. He was limping on the court the whole time. And then Gary Harris, and it was helped them out in game two for sure, but they still did not win that one. Helping out as a defensive guard, but he was 0 for 5 from 3 in the first game, which really hurt. And really the only one who had it going from 3 in the second game.
Do we see 100 points scored in this series at all, do you think?
What did Cleveland get to last game?
96.
96, so they were 97 and 96 were the two. Yeah.
Those were at home. It goes on the road. I just feel like we could see a whole lot of just 90s.
Mm-hmm. Munders.
Also, speaking of the 90s, touching on your Nuggets again, you know what made me happy a little bit?
What?
The Nuggets turned off their futuristic offense a little bit, and there was a stretch where Jamal took mid ranges only. Jokic was playing bully paint basketball against AD, and then they would randomly kick it out barely ever.
Yeah, I mean,
to Michael Porter Jr. This was during a stretch.
Yeah,
and it just was am I watching 2024 basketball? Or is this 1996?
I mean,
what is going on?
I don't know if you've seen that, in the regular season, we're pretty distant. I'm pretty sure we're an outlier of, by far, we're the 30th team in 3-point attempts. We do not shoot threes.
It just was more the sequence. There wasn't threes woven in that felt it was literally Jokic is going to bully AD down, which, wild.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
He's been doing that since the bubble, honestly. But yeah, continue.
When he got skinny, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so yeah, anyway, I just thought that there was that sequence where it was mid-range, bully ball, mid-range, bully ball, get to the free throw line because you almost got massacred. That was the only, I was this is a wild stretch we've had here. Anyway,
the Nuggets the Nuggets are at their best when they're out and running in transition and getting transition threes and all that, for sure. And Jokic is passing in the open court. But in the closing of games, that exactly is what the Nuggets are so good at. Is every possession they're playing old school basketball, and they're just going to do it better than you because Jokic and Jamal just are big time shot makers. And then when there is a kick out for a three, it's MPJ or KCP. And Aaron Gordon is weirdly a pretty clutch 3-point shooter, despite him being a below 30% 3-point shooter. So
he's also just such a big. He's their Dennis Rodman. He could give you nothing on offense outside of dunks, and he would still be doing his job.
Yeah,
because of just how that offense works.
Mm-hmm.
He just does so much for him defensively, and he's kind of that every team that's good has that kind of nasty not in a bad way, but that not willing to back down to anyone, even when he maybe should.
Honestly,
that's Aaron Gordon.
It's weird.
That's what Aaron Gordon does.
He doubles as literally the nicest person in the NBA. is really weird. Like he's like just this really calm, normal, like really, does not really fight with anybody. Some people get in fights with him, but he's like never like, doing too much. But then he just has this dog in him, which no pun intended that he was out for a couple of games this year for getting mauled by a dog. But I don't know if you heard about that. That was his own dog. He has a Rottweiler that I don't know what happened exactly. He said that he got a little tipsy and was just effing around with his dog too much, and he got like bit and had to have like 12 stitches in his hand and he had stitches on his face too.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But
that's wild.
Anyways, yeah. So I just thought of that when I said he has a dog in him.
Dog in him.
But yeah, enough Nuggets for this podcast.
I just wanted to throw that out there, that there was that little stretch of 90s basketball that made me happy.
I'm always down for throwing it back to the Nuggets. But I guess getting into the reason we are recording this one here today, and that is to finalize our over-under game for the preseason total, or over-under lines, for wins for each team in the regular season. For those of you who weren't following along at that point, we did an episode for each division. We chose over or under on each line. And we also, we have like these, special little rules to get extra points in this scoring system. In each division, we're allowed to have one lock, which makes our selection worth 3 points instead of just one. And then we have one stay away, which means we don't get any points either way for negative for getting it wrong, and so we do that, 6 times for all the divisions. And this is how it turned out. So starting in the Atlantic division, the first team we're going to touch on is Jacob's favorite team, the one he's wearing the jersey for, which definitely was over their line this year.
Crushed it. No fear. I believe that's my lock over. I did it out of principle.
Yes, you did lock the over on the Boston Celtics, which also just scanning through, they were tied for the highest line in the league, and they also just blew it out. They went 9 games over what they needed. They needed 55 to pass it. They ended with 64. So definitely got the job done there. I get 1 point on this one because I just went a normal over, and Jacob gets 3 points for going the lock on the over. And then on to the Brooklyn Nets. Their over-under line was 37.5. And they finished with 32 wins, I believe. Yes, they ended with 32-50. So they were under, and so now we have the score tied up because I went a lock on the under while Jacob just went a normal under. So it is 4-4 so far. And then the Knicks, they were definitely over. They got 50 wins this season on an over-under line of 44.5. Even with all the injuries that they suffered, this year, it's been pretty wild. And I went stay away on this one. I'm not really sure why exactly, but you went over, so you get a point here.
My stay away is the Sixers, I think.
Yes, and
my pride is a bummer.
Mm-hmm,
because I would have said under just because screw them.
Yeah. I'm sure that's probably the one that you were leaning toward. And also this one hurts for me because it felt like what the Sixers were this season, they should have definitely surpassed this line, which was 48.5. And for most of the season, or not most, but really up until Embiid went out, it was like they were going to crush that line.
Yeah. Like mid-50s range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Probably end up around the same as like the Thunder and the Nuggets were out west. But they ended up, I think, 1.5 wins below the line. With 47 wins when they needed 49. So I get 0 points on this, or I get -1 actually. I forgot how the rules worked. And you get 0 because you used to stay away. And then the Raptors, their line is 36.5, and they finished with 25 wins. So they were very far below, which they, at one point in the season, looked like it wasn't impossible for them to hit the and but then at the trade deadline, and even before the trade deadline,
they're going to make it impossible for them to hit the line.
Yeah, when they traded off their 2 best older players, Scotty Barnes is, their young centerpiece, but And then we both went under on this, so we both got 1 point here. And I guess we can revisit. We can like look at what the score is at after each division, as well.
I went perfect that one.
Did you perfect that one? Is that what you said?
I believe so.
Well, you didn't lose any points. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean that's the only way you can. Yeah, it's as good as you can do, obviously.
I mean, I locked my over on the lockiest of lock overs.
Yeah.
I guess the stay away, you can't really build rules on what's the best stay away. Like, there's not like a best stay away rule.
It's really just whatever one you felt the least confident about.
And I think it's because I was cooking up some weird theories that Joel Embiid was going to be a Knick. I think if I'm remembering this right, that Joel Embiid wasn't going to play for the Sixers.
Really?
Maybe it wasn't a Knick, but he wasn't happy in Philly, and he was getting irritated. And then Nick Nurse and him, I didn't think we were going to get along, because Nick Nurse just juices every ounce of ability out of you, even though some people don't like that. And Embiid seemed like he wouldn't like that. And so I think that's why I stayed away.
Yeah.
All of that was terribly wrong, but it still worked out for me. So,
but looking at the score so far, you have 6 and I have 4 after the Atlantic Division. And so then moving on to the Central Division out east, still in the Eastern Conference. Chicago Bulls over underline was 37.5, and they got 39, so they just squeaked over. Both of us lose a point on this one for going under. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who had a good season, but still somehow were under their line.
Their line was crazy high, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 50.5, which they won 51 games exactly, I believe, last year.
Yeah.
But the whole league,
got better.
So, which was basically your main philosophy or reason.
Point for a lot of, if like there was teams that I thought were still good, but their line just felt high, it was just an under because too many teams got. I mean, even like they were like terrible. The Pistons, which we'll talk about in a little bit, they were still better. They just were the worst injury luck out of maybe anyone outside of the Knicks.
Outside of the Grizzlies, I'd say.
Grizzlies, yeah.
The Grizzlies, we never even talked about that, but they broke the record for most players played for a team in a season. They have like 31 players suit up for the Grizzlies this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild.
And part of it, I guess, wasn't even injuries. Well, Ja was injury, but also the suspension injury before. Mm-hmm. Sorry, continue your point though.
So anyway, like just when the bottom is better, they'll just sneak a couple games away from people higher up in the repertoire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So did I go under then?
You locked your under, and yeah, that's why. That's actually what I meant by that was like your philosophy, because you made that specific argument. You're at the strongest, I believe, for the Cavs specifically. And
it's also that weird, I can't get it out of my brain, hate of Donovan Mitchell or dislike of I don't know why. I can't.
Yeah, so that's another big swing because I went over on that one, so I lose a point. And then this is a backbreaker for me also. I'm going to lose 3 points on this next one, which, we just talked about this team, the Detroit Pistons. Their line was 28.5, and they ended at 14 wins. So a lot better than what they were on pace for at one point.
Yes, but still tough.
Yeah. So I'm going to lose 3 here, but you will also lose 1.
Oh, I talked myself into the over?
Yeah, remember you were mad at me about that like a couple months ago in an episode.
Man.
You blamed it on me, which I'm sure that is the argument that you heard that swayed your opinion.
Yeah.
Was my point, but
yeah.
And then on to the Indiana Pacers, who are a very fun team that we both are going to get a point for here for going over on their line of 38.5, and they ended with 47. So pretty comfortably above that. And then the Milwaukee Bucks to finish out the Central Division. We both went stay away on because of the weird coach situation and also Dame as a new...
I want to go back and listen. I feel like I said stay away, but I leaned under. Or maybe that was the midway point. when they officially got Dame, I was like, under, because I hated it. And I hated everybody taking
midway point. What do you mean?
Not the midway point. After the Dame trade happened and everything.
We did all this before. We did all this after the Dame trade. Well, we did the final lock it down episode after the Dame trade.
After. Mm-hmm. And I just left my stay away probably. I'm going to go back and listen to it to see if... You might have
changed it to stay away. I'm not even sure. I'm not sure.
Like if I because my brain felt under. But I had to use a stay away. Anyway,
I know that you basically you had the energy of picking under less than 5 games into the season. Very shortly after we started seeing games and we had an episode, you were saying that the Bucks were I think you ranked them 6th, which is decently high. That's probably pretty fair right now as for in power rankings. But at the time, it was you're putting the Bucks at 6. That's,
I think I put the Thunder above them.
You might have.
Man, I understand that my takes are kind of wild sometimes. I cook in the kitchen, but some of my takes kind of come out pretty nice.
Yeah.
Like a nice beef Wellington. Perfectly cooked.
I guess that's how it works. If you just kind of go bold on most of your takes, then the ones that are right seem like wizardry, But
I feel like my wrongs are I'll need to start doing a tracker of cementing this into the hot take oven and then keep track of the ones that I burn and the ones that come out beautiful.
I do feel like you have a pretty good hit rate. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like
feel good.
You hit on quite a few of your hot takes, which we've been having some banger transitions here, where we have we bring up a thing and then the very next team is the best team linked to that thought or that Atlanta Hawks.
Oh
no, Hawks.
Which Hawks from a couple years ago?
Yeah, you're kind of the original
the coming out party.
Yeah,
the coming out party for the hot take kitchen.
You had the Hawks as a dark horse contender going into a season where everybody was picking them to be the 11 seed basically. So, and that was the season that they ended up going to the conference finals. So I picked to stay away on the Hawks, so I'm going to get 0 here, but you went under, as they also did, with a line of 41.5, and they won 36. So not too far under, but
they
definitely
probably would have gotten the over if Trae Young would have not played a single game this season.
You went under.
I know, but I think they would have gotten the over if Trae Young just sat the season out.
Yeah, maybe.
No, I've watched an uncomfortable amount of Hawks basketball with and without Trae Young. And while Trae Young is very, very good, he's like Luka without the insane factor. He can't carry.
He's less efficient.
But he plays like he needs to. But the rest of the Hawks are just a good team without him.
A
fine team. They're not good. They're a fine team.
Mm-hmm. I would say without him, I think the reason why they play better isn't necessarily because obviously they're more talented with him, but without him, they just have a kind of a structure that makes sense. Kind of like how the Cavs were really good this year when Garland and Mobley were out, even though those are 2 of their best players. I was going
to throw it back to the OG example of this, which is Ja.
Oh, yeah.
That's not really OG because that was 2 seasons ago or a season ago. But granted, it's also because their backup point guard was way better than everybody thought he was.
Tyus Jones, never made mistakes. Jones. Yeah. But the Cavs though this year were way better when Mobley and Garland were out, and it wasn't because it's not because they're a better team talent wise. It's just that with them out, they're forced to play a different way. And that way was very conducive, to success, basically. So, because there's a lot of overlap that they have between Mobley and Allen together when they have to play so many minutes with them both on the court together. On an offense, they get bogged down quite a bit because both of them are non-shooters. And then Garland and Mitchell have quite a bit of overlap where a lot of Garland's value is not being utilized when he's on the floor with Mitchell because you want to use them in the same type of actions, replacing each other, basically. So that's why that happened there, I feel like. And that's with the Hawks too, where I think DeJounte becomes the primary ball handler, obviously, without Trae. And it's a much more sharing, team.
It's a team.
Yeah. Here you're sharing the ball. You're getting multiple people getting different looks, and just everybody's getting involved at a different level than just watching. It's kind of like Trey playing like Harden did for those Rockets teams back in the day. But yeah, so that is the Hawks. And then on to the Charlotte Hornets. Well, I guess we forgot to check the score at the end of the last round, which it was 8-0 overall, because I'm now at 0 points from all the negatives.
Oh, wow.
Now you're at 9. I am at 0 after that first team in the Southeast Division.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yep.
It won't stick through the Western Conference, but that's nuts.
I feel like I probably predict you might pull this one out. I think you'll probably win.
For those that don't know the history of this, Logan just rolls me every year. Like, it is a level of ugly that can't really be described for polite audiences. It's bad every year. It just is a bloodbath, a massacre, a travesty.
The other year, I think it was like 21-9 or 22-9 or something like that.
Yeah, it's always so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, any kind of win would be a court storming event. Shout out Jay Billis, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Charlotte Hornets, their line was 30.5. Both of us went over on this, which I think was similar to the Pistons one. Was like they were pretty good last year. Like they were around this same level last year of that line,
and didn't anticipate like no LaMelo Ball at all.
Well, yeah, and like but LaMelo was out last year too, and so we were like, oh, with LaMelo healthy this year,
they've got to be better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that
he wasn't healthy.
Yeah, that did not happen the way that we had predicted. So we both lose a point there. And then Miami is the next team, the Miami Heat. They had an over-under line of 46.5, and they finished with 46 wins. So they slightly went under. So I'm going to get a point here, but Jacob is going to get 3 for locking that under.
That's so dumb of me. That's so dumb. That was a hater move.
Yeah. And then on to the Orlando Magic, who I'm going to get a point here for going over on their line of 36.5, and they got 47 wins. So they're same exact outcome as the Pacers for well, I guess the Pacers line was 38.5, but so Orlando was even more of an overachiever. But yeah, so I get a point here and you got 0 because you actually did the stay away on the Magic. And then the Washington Wizards is where I'm going to hit finally on a lock. I think that's my first. Oh, never mind. I hit on the Nets as well. But it's good to get another lock here on the under of 24.5 wins. They ended up with 15. I felt that was honestly my most confident under of this entire game. It's like there's no way these Wizards are winning 25 games.
What did you say last episode? It was Kyle Kuzma masquerading as a first option.
Yeah. Yeah. They are it's a rough they've been a rough team to watch all year. They've been
rough since 2017 to watch. Even when Brad Beal was there, it was tough to watch.
I feel like that's a little bit dismissive of the Russell Westbrook year. That was really fun.
That's true. He's like a cult hero in Washington.
Uh-huh. And
because
Beal led the league in scoring one of those years also. Not the Russ year, but a different year.
Yeah.
So they've had a little bit of stuff happening. Nothing even close to this bad.
No, this is the worst. And it doesn't look much better in the coming years.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think they have their picks.
They don't. Not a lot of them. Well, wait, why would they have
their picks? Thought they didn't have their picks. I thought they did some sort of weird...
I think they must have traded at least some of their picks for Russell Westbrook, but I don't think a lot. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure on that. So we'll see if Jacob gets an update on that for us.
So they don't have their own
this season.
This year.
Yeah, I think I knew that.
They have their own next year. So it's just this year they don't have it. Okay, sorry. Okay. So it's just this year, but they do have Phoenix's this year.
Which is not a very good... It's not going to be a lottery pick, obviously.
No.
Which is exactly what this team needs, is a lottery pick. But we'll see, I guess, where the Wizards go. They don't really have a centerpiece or a core, really. They have Bilal Coulibaly and Denny Avdia are 2 guys that I could see as like maybe keepers. If it depends on how young your timeline is. Definitely Koulibaly could be a keeper, but Denny
let him go to San Antonio. Let him play with Wemby.
Just bring every French player. Every French player.
No, not just the French thing, but like Wemby.
Oh, because they were teammates. They were teammates.
This dude is going to be a dog. Don't underestimate my guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like that's like the reuniting that we need, that we want, that we yearn for.
Yeah, for sure. It would be a feel-good story. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Getting bros back together. We're a pro-bro podcast here.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I don't know why we wouldn't be.
It's true.
But after this, so we're done with the East now. And the score is 12-4. So
I'll take it.
We'll see if I can mount a comeback here.
So did I miss my lock on that one? No, I got the Heat lock.
You hit.
That's the only thing I hit.
Every lock.
Okay.
You hit all 3 locks.
Okay.
You hit the Heat, you hit the Cavs, and you hit the Celtics. So you are 3 for 3 on locks. I am 2 for 3 so far. The Pistons lock hurt a lot. And then on to the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference for the Pacific Division.
This was going to hurt.
Yep, so you're going to get a -3 here. You locked the over, which I thought was crazy at the time. I do remember that. Locked the over on. I think this was the main moment while recording these where I was like, I don't know if I said that how crazy I thought it was, because I really did not want you to change your pick, because I was like, I had more of the competitive ploy going on, but I was like that. I was just kind of grinning on the inside of like, yes, I'm so glad he's locking the over on this one, because I felt very good about at least the stay away, which is what I did end up going with. Wish I would have gone under, but I went with a stay away, and you lose 3 points here. Their line, I don't know if I said it, was 48.5 wins. So they needed 49 to go over, and they were very close to that actually. It feels weird because they were the 10 seed. It felt like they were nowhere close, but they did get 46 wins this year. So if they would have won 3 more games, they would have.
Doesn't seem that crazy now, does it?
No, it doesn't.
As a lock, yes, for sure. But
it's wild though that the 10. This is the most competitive. I think this is the best conference that the NBA has ever seen potentially. It's in that conversation. This season's Western Conference. The top 11 teams are at least 500. And
the gap between the 1 seed and the 10 seed is smaller than the 1 and the 2 seed in the East.
Yeah.
In terms of games back.
And that's a big testament to the Celtics, obviously. But
I think it's like an equal testament to the competitiveness of the West, and then also the like midness of the Knicks, respectfully.
Yeah.
Like the Knicks are like the 5th best team in the playoffs, and they're a 2 seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I think that the Warriors, I don't know if this, I would not doubt if this was the best record a 10 seed has ever gotten. I feel like that it'd be hard to beat 46. You win 46 games, and you're the 10 seed out of 15 teams. You know what I mean?
Sorry, in the middle of a recording, games are going on now. Damian Lillard had a 26-point first half with 6 threes. It's Dame time. He doesn't need Giannis. It is Dame time.
I was going to ask if Giannis was playing.
No, Giannis is not playing.
Okay, yeah.
Which that's also an argument. Is that a Trae Young situation where they're good separate, but together they like have diminishing returns?
Oh, for just Dame, you're saying?
Yeah.
I think so, because of the thing I've been saying this whole year, of Giannis needs to not be a ball handler, primarily. Like, he can do it in the open floor, yeah, but like in the half court, why does Giannis not play more like Aaron Gordon? Or like Anthony Davis, for another star comparison, Or Amari Stoudemire. There's historically guys that are stars that play that way, but Giannis views that as like a role player's job and doesn't want to do it. Which is just disappointing. If I was a Bucks fan, I would hate that. That would just kind of make me mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I could not imagine Jokic. Obviously, Jokic would not be best suited for that type of role because he's not Giannis. He's not like a vertical lob threat. Nikola Jokic has never been described as that. But if he was, though, I could not imagine Nikola Jokic saying like, "No, I don't roll. I'm not a roll man. I make plays with the ball." It's just wild to kind of hear. But anyways, regardless of that, the Clippers are the next team in the Pacific Division. Their over-under line was 46.5, and they did go over because they ended up with 51 wins. Obviously, these lines were picked before the James Harden trade was ever really. I mean, it was talked about, kind of,
but it wasn't locked down.
Yeah, we've known for a long time. Every time James Harden has been up for trades, the Clippers have been in the rumor mill because he's from LA and wants to return home there pretty openly. So that is big reason for why the Clippers did hit the over, but I went under and you went stay away. So I'm going to lose a point here and you are going to be unfazed.
Change.
And then the Lakers, the other team, I like calling the Lakers the other team in Los Angeles for a change. I picked over on their line of 47.5 wins, which they did barely miss that. They got 47. So they were 1 win away from hitting the over. So we both lose a point here for going over. And then the Phoenix Suns, I'm going to get this one for a lock. Their line was 52.5. So they needed 53 wins to go over. And I just knew for a fact that there was no way those three guys plus Nurkic as their fourth best, all four of those guys are like some of the most injury-prone guys active in the league right now. I was like, there's no way they're going to have enough of them all healthy to win 53 games in this loaded Western Conference. So I locked the under on that one. They still did. I think they were near their ceiling in terms of how well they played this year, ended up with 49 wins. So they weren't like too far away from getting that. But I will get a good 3 points here. You will get 1. And then the Sacramento Kings, 44.5 wins was their line preseason. I went over. And they did hit their over with getting 46. You went under. So this will be a nice little equalizer, getting me closer. And which reminds me is a good time to check in after we just finished out the Pacific Division. My total right now is 6 and yours is 8. So it is only a 2-point ball game at the moment. We'll see how the rest of these finish out. I honestly have no idea who's going to win this one. Nuggets.
I did my part. It's closer. Gosh dang it. I'm going to lose this. It's not a choke. We could have done it in a different order and I looked like I mounted a crazy comeback. It's all subjective.
I also feel like we both did this not very well. Because I remember in the past we didn't even subtract points though, was the thing.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't subtract in the past.
Because I remember getting scores in the 20s.
Yeah. I don't think we subtracted in the past. I think that's new. I like it more.
Yeah, it does add an extra element.
Because it makes the swing of getting a lock wrong feel worse.
Way worse.
I think mathematically it'd be essentially the same.
It's same.
It just would feel worse.
Proportionally, the winner would always be the same no matter what, if you subtracted them or not. But
it just feels different. Yeah.
Yeah. The Nuggets, their line was 52.5. I locked the over on this one, obviously, as a principal thing, and also just as a basketball pick. I felt like we were going to go over. You went over also, but not a lock. So we are tied up right now, 9-9. Minnesota Timberwolves, their line was 44.5. I didn't even mention the Nuggets got 57 wins, so they were 4 games over what they needed. Should have been 5, and should have broke the franchise record in wins, but they just tied it at 57. Minnesota Timberwolves is the next team. Their line was 44.5. I went under on the Timberwolves. I do remember feeling very close on this one. I thought it would be a slight under. It was not. They ended up with 56 wins. So I will lose a point on this one, and you will gain a 3-point.
That's right. Bang!
Get a 3-point basket on that one.
Yeah, boy.
And then Oklahoma City Thunder are the next team. Same exact line, 44.5 wins. They won 57, this year. So they went well over. And we both get a point on that one. So it is now 9-13. advantage you.
Ooh, get down to the wire.
Yeah.
Just
now we're on
kidding.
to the Portland Trail Blazers. I went under. You went stay away. They were obviously under. Their line of 27.5 wins. They got 21. So I get 1 point here, and you are unchanged. And then the same exact thing is going to happen here with the Jazz, just reverse. I'm going to get 0, and you're going to get 1 because their line was 35.5, and I went under. They finished with 30, or I went stay away, excuse me. You went under, and they finished with 31 wins. So I get 0, you get 1. It is now 10-14 at the end of the Northwest Division with one division left to go, which is the Southwest. So we have the Dallas Mavericks as the first team here, and this is going to really hurt me. Locked the under on the Dallas Mavericks, and they went pretty well over. They got 5 more wins than they needed to, finishing out with 50 wins when their line was 44.5. So I will lose 3 points here, and you will lose just 1. And then the Houston Rockets were 31.5 wins as their line, and they got 10 more wins than 9 more wins than they needed to by finishing 500 exactly. And both of us went under. So the same exact thing, but reverse is happening on this one as with the Mavericks because you locked the under here, and I just went normal under. And the Memphis Grizzlies is one that we're both going to get a point on because their line was 45.5. I'm sure this is probably the biggest, maybe even bigger than the Pistons difference between their line because their line was 45.5 wins and they won 27.
Like, I don't know what world they get that.
Yeah, without I thought that line was crazy. I don't know why I didn't
think we didn't even bring this up. They're like, okay, even if they go like 500 before getting Jot, do we feel great about them? Like, going
in this loaded West,
yeah, geez Louise,
that was going to be tough. I thought for sure, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. But
they also got way worse injuries. Like this might have been before we knew that Steven Jackson was gone and done.
Steven Adams, yeah, it was before.
Jeez Louise, I need to go to bed. Jeez Louise, Steven Jackson.
At least that's another NBA player. At first I was thinking Randy Jackson in my mind, like an American Idol judge when you said that. But yeah, Steven Jackson, another NBA player, former.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steven Adams was a season-ending injury that was announced like a day or two after we recorded this episode, the final Lock It Down episode. So that probably would have shifted my lock to the Grizzlies, I'm guessing. Hopefully, at least. I hope I would have made that decision, but who knows? Stay away is what I have for the Pelicans. We both have stay away for the Pelicans, which is the next team. Their line was 44.5 wins. They went over with 49, but we both are going to get 0 here. And so that means that you have to have won. Yeah, and it's going to get even worse here. You're going to get 1 point for the Spurs. I'm going to lose a point. Their line was 28.5.
They got to be close.
They won 22, so they weren't super close. But
that's so criminal.
Yeah,
Wemby is so good, and they won 22 games.
And they had like a handful of like very notable wins.
That's like probably like why my brain thought they had more. It's because some of the wins they had were like, that feels like 3 or 4 wins. That's kind of nuts.
They beat the Suns at least 3 times.
Well, back to back early in the season.
Yeah. It was and then again later in the season.
Yeah.
Might have been even a 4th time. I don't know how many times they played each other, but and then they beat the Nuggets at the very end of the season in a 21-point comeback, which was nuts. But yeah, so the final score is 6-12. So you handled business.
It's a kind of comfy win.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wonder what it would be if we don't do minuses. So I can compare myself to see if I like redeemed myself a little bit.
Oh yeah.
This doesn't have to be part of the episode. We can wrap up the episode.
No, that's fine. I'll just delete these really quick. These little minuses here. It will only take me a few seconds.
But we don't know exactly what last year's was without going back and listening.
Yeah, but I do remember like when me and Anthony, because 2 years ago we had Anthony in on this with us.
And it was you two, and then I was alone being a weirdo.
Yeah, you had like 9, and then I had like 23, and Anthony had like 22 or 21 or something like that. I'm pretty sure is how it shook out. So yeah, it would have been 24-21, somehow closer. That's kind of wild.
You missed a lot more of the big monies.
Yeah. So that means that technically the winner wouldn't always, it wouldn't always be the same necessarily, I don't think. Because if you can,
I guess hypothetically, if it's razor thin,
because of a big minus that somebody had, you know, while the other person did stay away or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
So like they would have got the same score if you were to score it differently, but the other person would have got hurt a lot more. Yeah, so it could be a little bit different. But yeah, finished with 21-24 was the final score in our traditional way of doing it. But I do like the minuses.
No, it makes it feel crazier.
Yeah. Adds more suspense to it for sure. But yeah, where are we cooking for time here? We're a little over an hour. We are back to our good length of episode range right now. So I think this is probably a pretty good spot to wrap up unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
No, sir. Nothing else I wanted to touch on. No. All
right. Sounds good. So everybody, thank you for watching. Please check out all the stuff. I've noticed on the last several episodes, probably more than several, I've forgotten to continue to mention where the links are to all this stuff we tell you to go check out. All of those links are in the episode and show description, wherever you're listening to this. And so go check those links out. There's Buy Me a Coffee, there's Patreon, there's all the social media platforms for the shorts. I've been putting out videos on the predictions with the bracket that I made before the postseason started, and continuing to put out some podcast clips as well. Kind of just off the games now for the postseason, just because I'm trying to get out as much of like the actual basketball talk as possible. But in the off season, that will definitely come back pretty strong, the game videos. So yeah, be looking out for all of that stuff. We're still coming up on 5,000 followers on TikTok. We're at like 50 followers away now, I think. So really coming down the opening stretch.
So go back, find the pinned video. And
it is not pinned at the moment, but I should probably pin that.
I thought it was always pinned.
Yeah.
I don't have TikTok, so.
Yeah, but it's the video of us, talking about the jersey giveaway. We do have a good amount of entries on that right now, but if for some reason you're listening to this and you haven't entered your name into that, go comment on that video what you want as far as your choice of jersey. You'll hear us in that video explain the options there and everything. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for being a part of this. Just really appreciate all of that. And honestly, just really excited for this good couple months here of solid basketball in the playoffs that we're going to get. Hopefully it's another good one for the Denver Nuggets. Feels like the beginning of a dynasty is forming. Don't want to speak too soon on that, but I do kind of feel that kind of vibes brewing. Jacob's making a face because I'm sure he wants the Celtics to win this one.
I think they will, but that's whatever.
You think they will?
Yeah.
You think the Celtics will handle the Nuggets in the finals?
Handle's a relative term. Do I think they walk in casually, don't even sweat? No. But do I think the Celtics pull it out? Yes.
What made you change on that?
Healthy KP is bringing me life.
No, that's fair. That's fair. It's the one team that I do not mind somebody picking over the Nuggets. But I do also feel, and it might be a little bit of irrational confidence, but I do still feel very good about the Nuggets. So we will see. It will be the battle of the century, especially for our podcast. Maybe we'll have a live reaction after each episode. We'll have to do something crazy.
We'll go after
each game. Yeah, we'll go to at least one game.
Yeah,
for sure. But we'll do something as far as content. I'm sure also for that. It would be kind of a crime not to, I feel like.
Yeah.
Unless one of us is just very depressed after something that happens in that final series,
Maybe.
Which definitely could happen. But yeah, so again, thank you guys for listening. Going to close this one out. Stay happy, stay healthy, and thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you guys next episode.
Peace.